So I get asked all the time, where should I put my hands? And if this is your first MOBA, that can be a rather confusing thing. Well, you're not supposed to home row it, of course. You got a hand over on the mouse so you can control yourself. But today I'm going to go over a number of basic controls that you can use, and we'll talk a little bit about quick casting as well if you want to make that jump, which you should. And I think you should also make the jump from locked camera, but we'll talk about that in a minute as well. For me, these are all personal things, right? I never use my pinky at all. The only thing I use my pinky for are shift commands, which work much, much better in quick cast settings. So really, I don't use shift much at all if I'm not using quick cast. But otherwise, the pinky's out. The pinky's a fancy finger. It needs to rest. Otherwise, it's just, you know, some basic Q, middle for W, E, and then R, E and R. That handles D as well. Use my ring finger for A for attacking, moving, and S for stopping. And then I use my pointer all the way over here for H, for those of you that choose to use H. If you're strange like me, see the stutter stepping video earlier for more on that. Now, let's say you want to advance your play a little bit, and you're thinking about, you know, how can you break out of locked camera? Because let's talk, that's probably the first thing I want you to abandon if you're trying to up your control scheme. So locked camera is enabled by pressing L, and you can turn it off by pressing the same button L.
All right, then.
Hitting L basically takes the game into sort of like a Diablo mode, where you can make all these little micro clicks. And you can adjust the camera slightly, but it's always going to move back and will eventually refocus on you over time. This doesn't matter too much if you're just some melee marauder. If you want to play Sonya like you do in Diablo, go for it. Spin all over people. For the most part, you won't really, other than your range on your hook shot, have a spell that's going to take you off your screen. However, if I'm someone like Li Ming or Sylvanas with a silencing shot, if I'm Chromie, if I'm Asmodan, these are all players I'd like to see you lose your locked camera for, so you can really think about what you're aiming at. And that's more important because you're setting up good cameras. Imagine, if you will, that I'm going to go and I'm going to get in a big old team fight over by this wall here. This isn't horrible if I just start, you know, having at this team fight from back here. Whoop, something incoming, gotta dodge it, relocating, moving all around, making all these nice little micro clicks so I can control my character good in the light. But with the lock camera off, I want you to make stronger camera angles. Now, what I mean by that is, and I'm a little weird here again, so, you know, you don't have to do this. This is just the way I work it. You may notice if you're watching my videos that when I'm mounted, my camera is moving freely of my mouse, and I'm often looking around, I'm looking over here. I don't really care where my body is much because I can pay attention to myself on the mini-map, and I'm looking to make a good camera shot for the upcoming action. So let's say that fight is over here in this tower on top of this fort. I would use my left hand and move it over to my arrow keys. Bizarre, I know, you don't have to do this, to build this camera shot. And so when I move into range, I will then have this all worked out, and I don't have to move my camera now that I'm engaged. This is my camera shot for this entire action adventure that we're about to go on. And then, once I have need of it, we might need to chase something off the screen, we might need to run, then we can do these little side clicks and push it along the side like you might normally do with an unlocked camera. So that is the main reason. Don't use over-ranged heroes, of course, with locked camera, but mainly I want you to do whatever it is that you can. If it's just moving your mouse over there, that's fine. Just get a good shot of the battlefield before you engage, so you have a good shot for the entire battle, and you don't ever lose yourself. Should you ever lose yourself, though, spacebar. Spacebar puts this big ol' highlighter on you, too, so it's easier to find yourself. And sometimes you just misclick the minimap and you end up down there. It'll happen all the time. Just spacebar, right back to yourself. Now you might need to adjust the camera again for whatever the battle was, but at least we're not lost. And if you want to do something cool, like you're, you know, minding your positioning, let's say we got to go through some woods here, and I'm kind of scared that something might try to gank me, I can hold down that spacebar and have a momentary locked camera so that I can really pay attention to myself and where I'm off to. So let's talk a little bit about quick casting. Quick casting is enabled by going to hotkeys. You'll have your fancy little profile, quick cast settings, and then you just simply turn it on or on release. Let's start with on release. So we, of course, all know how spells normally aim. You line up the little graphics on the ground, and then you click the left mouse button and let them rip. With on release, what you're doing is you're still getting the advantage of that aim, but you're holding down the button, and until you let it go, the spell doesn't fly. So you can still aim a little bit. This might be a good stepping stone for some. Spells that automatically quick cast will still quick cast. So these are Lili's spells. This is arrows out of Sylvanas. Those guys, you can just hold down the button, it'll just spam. It'll already be set to quick cast because to do anything else with that button would be a disservice to you as the player and your actual using of the game. So on release is a good way to still get those highlighters if you're confused about maybe what the range is on a spell. Maybe I'm not entirely sure if I'm into Li Ming, maybe I'm still practicing, and I need to know what this orb is going to do, and ideally with an orb you want to make sure it goes the maximum distance, so hitting it like this would do less damage than hitting it like this. So I can take that time and make sure I maximize the spell. But those are all microseconds. And on a character like Li Ming, particularly on characters like Kharazim where you have to Divine Palm someone in half an instant, you should probably just go ahead and take the jump to full-on quick casting. And you are going to be flying blind for a little bit, and that's okay. Just fly blind. Set it on. Everything's quick cast now. You have no idea what the range of any of these things are. You have no idea what the crisscrosses will be. You have no idea what the ranges are for your teleport. You just do it, and you get a good feeling. Now, of course, this gets a little tough as you get into later levels, maybe, and you pick up something like Illusionist, or you end up going with Arcane Orbit, and your ranges change. You need to be prepared for that sort of thing, so you can actually make use of it and use the talent you've picked up. One example for why you might want to immediately quick cast is something like Triumvirate. If an Arcane Orb hits an enemy hero after traveling at least 65 of its base range, the cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. So if I hit a hero with this, after it flies through the air, 8-second cooldown Arcane Orb, flies through the air for about a second and a half, explodes, reduces by 5, I've got about a second and a half to cast my next Arcane Orb in order to find value in my level 4 talent choice. By quick casting, I'm making sure that value is followed up quickly, the most that it can be. Need to increase that value and doing things quickly. It's also really important just on Li Ming because, honestly, it's about critical mass. It's about getting those repeat kills over and over, and you may just need to finger roll. Nothing fancy, just take your finger and basically get in combat. You see someone low, they're trying to get out. You just go, wada! Just press all the spells in kind of a finger roll motion. The reset happens, all the spells are reset, and you'll just go, wada, wada, over and over as you reset over and over again. So quick cast, pretty important on Li Ming. Of course, you know, you'll want to make sure you actually aim that teleport, aim the next one as it goes. But very, very useful tool for Li Ming. Once you have quick cast enabled as well, you will be moving a bit easier. So you may have seen in the stutter step video that we had to hit A, then we had a target on the ground, and then had to left click. With this, just wherever A is, and wherever my mouse is, now we're A moving. So it's a very easy way to stutter step. You're, of course, still going to need to use your right clicks. Right click, and then A move, right click, A move. Let's say, you know, we're backing up with this, so we'll A move, click, A, to stop. Exactly. It's pretty easy. I personally still like using S or H so I can control exactly where I'm stopping. But that is entirely up to you. You can totally do this just with A and a click. Real easy to stutter step with quick cast enabled. Something else you can now do with quick casting is really cool shift commands. So let's say I want to mount up and I don't want to ruin my mount as I move. So I hit Z and then I hit shift. Shift is to Q commands. So I can do a bunch of little things like this. I could get Li Ming to go like that, and now I let go and she follows through with all these shifted commands that I've done. Hold down shift and Q the commands. So you could even do something cute like, let's walk here, and then we're going to unleash all of our spells and then teleport backwards. Pretty neat.
My spells are ready.
Be a bit complex to do for sure. I mean, you don't 5 seconds in the future, you may not want to do that exact move, but it is pretty cool to be able to queue up commands like that. Something you'll really use this for is channeling and mounting and maybe even grabbing your well. So let's say I want to mount, I then shift and click. So she completes that. Otherwise, if I start mounting and then click, I will cancel that mount just like this. You've probably done it 100 times. So if I Z, then shift and click, we're now mounted up. So shift click might make it easier for you to perform a combo that has to be extremely quick. And Diablo has one of these. Overpower, Shadow Charge. Overpower that flip, and the Shadow Charge him into a wall. So let's do that on Arthas here. We're hovering over Arthas. We have quick cast settings. So E brings us to him, shift, and then we'll Q. And it's all good to go. The second he goes over my head, we do the slam into the wall. So that's a very cute way you could use shift commands. I mentioned Monk benefits a lot from quick casting. And one of the reasons of this is the Divine Palm. If you're going to play Monk, you will be expected to Divine Palm. Playing 7-side strike's extremely easy. I love it too because it's relaxing. But Divine Palm is what you need to know. Often, when you're playing Monk, you may find yourself the off-tank. That is to say that you will have to punch things in melee in order to complete some sort of quest, healing, extra damage, whatever you may be in there for. You are going to have to be in melee to perform it often. Your heal, you're going to have to be in range of people. Actually, Monk's really good on a team with a couple of ranges because it gives you these locations to dash around to, and you become very three-dimensional of a sort on the battlefield, rather than just sort of being part of a death ball you can't get into punch, and things go a little wrong in that regard. But at any rate, Monk, you gotta quick cast some things, and quick casting Divine Palm is very, very useful. What you can also do, though, is ult. The ult button self-casts. And if you need to cast something very quickly just on yourself, holding down alt and then using that ability will be a good choice. Let's say, for some reason, you are Kael'thas, and you are surrounded on all sides, and you are going to die, so you might as well go out spectacularly. Holding down alt and then using Flame Strike, or even Phoenix, will drop it right beneath your feet in the center of the circle, so it'll then explode, and it's a very quick way to get the spell out, so you don't have to worry about where your mouse is. It could be extremely chaotic, and you might just want to plant something under your feet and run. Maybe you're Gul'dan. You want a quick horrify for the guy who is in your face, and you don't have time to aim it. You ult it, you explode. But with Monk, one of the most useful things you will do is Divine Palm yourself. Often you will find yourself in these situations where you're being the off-tank, you're being targeted down. And it's so easy to just put the Divine Palm on yourself and make sure that you survive whatever it is. So we gotta get him a little low here. Actually, I'm gonna be able to break through the wall. Awesome. Let's get in fort range here and take some real damage. So as we get lower, we hold down the ult, we're waiting, and casting ourselves. Super duper mad easy. And now we have to walk out of the cold and everything else like that. But Divine Palming yourself on Monk, it's practically a style. In fact, it's called the Relentless style, where you go relentless so you're never locked down during your own Divine Palm. Now able to cast your palm, you use it on yourself because you will always heal yourself easier than anyone else on the map as the healer. And if you're Uther, you can do the exact same sort of thing with Alt and Q, your Holy Light straight onto yourself. Of course, that costs a bit more, and other people will be expecting that Holy Light. Whereas Divine Palm, you can really control that you are going to die. We've all had those moments where you've put Divine Palm maybe on a Stitches or something, and he's gorged, or he's used some sort of devour ability that gives him health back suddenly. And now he doesn't die. Or they pop Hardened Shell and Shield at the last second when you thought they were going to die. They survived too long. Maybe you even punched too long, right? Maybe you had, your level 1 punches here with Transcendence, and you punched too thoroughly while they were going down. With Divine Palm cast on yourself, you'll always survive it, and you'll be able to target that exactly how you want to use it. Those poor walls, right?
For the glory of
Sometimes in the chaos of combat, though, you won't be able to find your target to actually heal them. Or you won't be able to find your darn mouse to actually target the spells that you want to use. So if you're going to move over to quick casting, in fact, I did this when I was learning Monk. I put myself on quick casting, couldn't find a darn thing in all that chaos. So all you got to do is go to options, go to mouse, and cursor size, and you can make this thing huge. And now you might have an easier time finding yourself in the thick of it. It does look a little silly, but you'll be surprised at how fast your brain can ignore the size of this thing and get back to work. And it really does help if you're just losing your mouse cursor in the chaos of battle. Something like this may be useful so you can keep yourself focused. Maybe I want to go over here. And with all this chaos, I'm always losing my mouse. Everything's so shiny and blue. It's easy to lose your mouse. So don't be afraid to up that size.